Hello there. Welcome to Just the Discs. Talk about Blu-rays here. Today we are talking about a couple releases from Warner Archive. An interesting combination of discs here. One is Scooby-Doo related, and the other is pre-code horror. So sort of a tenuous connection there, but I'm going to go with it. So what we have to start with is a lovely new Blu-ray for Scooby-Doo fans of Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island from 1998 with Scooby-Doo Return to Zombie Island from 2019, the 20-plus year sequel to the 1998 movie. So I will say right off the top that these look fantastic, especially Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, which of course came out in 1998. It was a direct-to-video, I believe, film. It was the first of 4 Scooby-Doo direct-to-video films to be animated overseas, apparently by a Japanese animation studio, Mook Animation. This is still a 4:3 square aspect ratio, but it looks incredible. It looks better than it's ever looked. The colors are rich and deep and just wonderful stuff. So for those that don't know, again, this is a 1998 American direct-to-video movie based, of course, on the Scooby-Doo franchise. And it's interesting because it precedes the, I believe, Scooby-Doo films, the live-action films, but there is a little bit of their story similarities in terms of, like, in the Scooby-Doo movie, they've kind of gone their separate ways. The gang is split up. In this case now, Daphne is running a popular TV show where she's sort of debunking mysteries, kind of. And she's in her second season. Fred is her cameraman, but she's kind of gotten tired of, as it was with the, Mystery Inc. gang, continually running into mysteries that are actually perpetrated by people in masks, dressed up as monsters. And there aren't any real monsters or ghosts or anything like that. And she is surprised by Freddy when she, on a talk show, says that she misses the old gang. Velma is now running a mystery bookshop. Scooby and Shaggy are working customs at the time of this story, and they are, meant to search out contraband food, and they get fired because they eat all the contraband food. Anyway, so Freddy gets the idea of getting the gang back together for Daphne's birthday, and they do, and then they get invited to investigate a bayou island that's supposed to be haunted by the ghosts of a pirate, Morgan Moonscar. And it ends up being one of the darker entries in the Scooby-Doo lexicon, because we find out that there are, in fact, ghosts and zombies on this island. It feels like there might even be, like, I may be reaching here, but like a Val Lewton influence, and I won't go into the specifics of that. If you watch the movie, see what you think. But just so people know why this came about, Scooby-Doo, obviously a very long-running franchise for Warner Brothers, and it had grown in popularity in the 1990s due to reruns being aired on Cartoon Network and such. And so they decided to develop this movie, and the team at Hanna-Barbera collaborated with Warner Brothers Animation, who was in the process, I guess, of absorbing Hanna-Barbera at the time. Had like many veteran artists and writers, and many of the original voice actors of the series were unfortunately replaced for the film, although Frank Welker returned to voice Fred Jones. The film is dedicated to Don Messick, Scooby-Doo's original voice actor, who died in October of 1997. It should be noted that rock bands Third Eye Blind and Sky Cycle contribute songs to the film's soundtrack. But yeah, like I said, it's darker in tone than most of the Scooby-Doo productions, and was released September 22nd, 1998, and it is the first Scooby-Doo production featuring the entire gang, minus Scrappy-Doo, since the new Scooby-Doo Mysteries episode, Halloween Hassle at Dracula's Castle, which premiered on ABC in October of '84. And apparently this is crazy to me, but supposedly true, the film was aided by a $50 million promotional campaign and sponsorship deals with multiple companies. And sales of the film on VHS were high, became the first in a long-running series of direct-to-video Scooby-Doo films, and we're still seeing those to this day. So this is ground zero for that. And I guess it first aired on Halloween of 1998 on Cartoon Network. So, like I said, the gang goes to this island. They run into some creepy folks running this island resort, and one of them is played by Adrienne Barbeau, which I think is interesting. She's doing a French accent, a Cajun accent. She owns this resort. It's not even a resort. It's a plantation house. And so the gang is taken in, and then the mystery starts to go, and we find out the zombies are real. And I'm not going to go any further than that, but know that it's a lot of fun. Billy West voices Shaggy Rogers, who I think he did in a few other incarnations of Scooby-Doo. Mark Hamill does a voice. Snakebite Scruggs. Anyway, it's a fun, direct-to-video Scooby-Doo movie, and I just like that it's the first of its kind. And it, like I said, looks great. Looks really good. And I like they included Return to Zombie Island, which is, again, looking at, it sort of retcons a little bit of the Daphne story. She says something like, instead of having her TV show, which she did in Zombie Island, the first one, she said something about how she's working at a TV station for the summer. I don't know why they felt the need to do that, but so Scooby and Shaggy and Daphne and Velma are all hanging out at the malt shop. Fred is very sad about the fact that he sold the Mystery Machine, I guess. And Scooby and Shaggy are happy that there are no mysteries, no anything. And they kind of make Fred and Daphne and Velma promise to not do anything mystery related. And they're watching their favorite TV show, which is Elvira, and they win and the real Elvira, I guess, is on the show, Cassandra Peterson, and they win a trip to a tropical paradise. And it turns out to be Zombie Island again, and they become wrapped up in a mystery involving zombies. And I'm curious what the back says here about that. Let's see. With a vacation of a lifetime at Monster Island Resort. I don't think it's called that, actually. I think it's called Moonstar Island Resort. Velma, Daphne, and Fred can't help but notice how strangely familiar their surroundings are. The gang soon finds that the paradise has a price. As they encounter an army of zombies and creepy cat people, hop on board and travel with Scooby-Doo and the gang and unearth the mystery in this laugh-filled follow-up to the original classic. Okay, so there is a little twist there. I'm not going to spoil. It is very self-aware in a fun and sort of goofy way. Frank Welker returns. Matthew Lillard is now the voice of Shaggy. Kate Micucci, Velma. This is the cast that they would have moving forward. John Michael Higgins, part of the Pitch Perfect and the Christopher Guest troupe, has a prominent role in the movie. He's pretty fun. But again, I won't go into the specifics of the plot of this one. But it was produced, it's the 33rd entry in the direct-to-video series of Scooby-Doo films, and a standalone sequel to Zombie Island, which is the first in the franchise. The film premiered at San Diego Comic-Con in July of 2019 and followed a home media release in September of 2019. So anyway, that looks great, but it's from 2019, so I expect that one to look pretty good. But it's a nice, pair of Scooby-Doo animated films. And Zombie Island especially has been long awaited on Blu-ray, and I don't even think there was a digital version that was high def. There may have been, but this looks fantastic. So a really great release of that. Now, moving on to the completely different pre-code film. This is The Mask of Fu Manchu from 1932, directed by Charles Braben, and it is a very dark, some might say campy, but definitely interesting and entertaining, if, problematic, pre-code film. And it's one of those that contains a little warning at the top. I've written it down here. The program you're about to see is a product of its time. It portrays ethnic, racial, gender, and other stereotypes and biases that existed in our society at the time this program was made. While such portrayals do not represent the values of Warner Brothers Discovery and its affiliates, this program is being presented in its original form in order to reflect the existence and history of these stereotypes and biases. So that's obviously one of the things they do now with these kind of films, which is good to do. I mean, it makes sense. The back says, Boris Karloff takes one of his most celebrated cinematic turns as the diabolical fiend Dr. Fu Manchu, and Myrna Loy plays his exotic daughter in this 1932 cult horror classic. This time, the evil Fu Manchu patiently awaits the discovery of Genghis Khan's tomb, for he is certain that the possession of Genghis Khan's mask and sword will enable him to rule the East and lead it to victory over the hated Western world. When British scientists in the Gobi Desert discover the tomb, Fu captures and tortures them in his elaborate torture garden, hoping they will take him to the treasure he craves. But an unexpected traitor has other plans for the Doctor based on Sax Rohmer's original story. The Mask of Fu Manchu is fast-moving and humorous. Yeah, I guess so. And it full of pre-code suspenseful horror. The Blu-ray restoration presents the film's uncut version as it was first released to theaters in 1932. Now, that's important to note. There's a great commentary on here that I'll get to in a second. But so the film is about 68 minutes long, so it's pretty quick. And it, I think, was edited for home video release in the 90s, and I don't know if this version has been available, but they were able to find an uncut camera negative, and so I don't think this film in this form has been available in a long time. And so there's bits of dialogue that are cut and other cuts that have now been restored to this very nice looking Blu-ray. Of course, it looks really beautiful in 4:3 black and white. Karloff is quite diabolical. His makeup apparently took 2.5 hours to put on every day. I couldn't help but notice that there is maybe a potential influence on things like Big Trouble in Little China and perhaps Indiana Jones too. There are definitely some sets that would seem like, at the very least, an influence on the production design of Big Trouble in Little China, if not the Fu Manchu character as a partial influence on the Lopan character in Big Trouble in Little China, down to the long fingernails and things like that. But Karloff is very good and very big in his performance. He has a lot of great speeches. And Myrna Loy, as his daughter, is creepy and interesting. But it does get really going in the last, 25 minutes or so. There are, like I said, there are lots of sets with traps. There's torture. There's a particularly gnarly bell torture where a gentleman is stuck under a bell, and they just keep ringing the bell in his face over and over and over. And there's a reference to the fact that he will be foul. Apparently will, not be able to go to the bathroom, so will do so in his pants or something along those lines. I don't know. But it is an interesting movie, and where it goes is pretty crazy. So It's one of those that is sort of notorious because of its problematic nature and its pre-codeness. And so it's nice to see it get a release despite all that. And for fans of the film, I think you will be pleased with this. It has a very good commentary track from film historian Greg Mank. It also includes classic cartoons Freddy the Freshman and The Queen Was in the Parlor. The commentary is great, though. It really gives a nice history of the film. It even talks about specific places where dialogue has been cut or would have been cut in previous editions and now has been restored. So yeah, very interesting pre-code film. Definitely one for the Universal horror fans, and is definitely MGM trying to, get in on all that. And it's an interesting attempt, if you will. But definitely worth a look and worth picking up if you're a fan of pre-codes and pre-code horror. A nice release from Warner Archive. I love the inclusion of the commentary. I know they have no budget for special features, but for whatever reason, maybe that was part of a DVD. I don't know. But it is a great track, and it really ups the value of this whole package. So anyway, that will do it for this round. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for listening. And I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.